This session is to help you find a way through things when they appear to be going horribly wrong. In fact, you might want to go through this session anyway, even if you're not experiencing any sort of difficulties, just so that you're in the know in case things do turn for the worse in the future. When things go wrong, a lot of people will often react hastily. That hasty reaction is often full of so much negative energy that it usually hampers anything productive from being achieved. In fact, anything that has gone positively before it can also be destroyed. So the first key step is to stop yourself from reacting in a knee-jerk sort of way. Simply stepping into the shoes of the trainee for a moment to see how things might be going for them is all you might need to do to stop yourself from being judgmental. So instead of reacting hastily, just stop and pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what's going on and why? And then ask the trainee the same thing. 90% of the time, things are fixable. But the key to fixing them is to first identify what the actual problem is and then trying to understand what's going on behind it. What and why are always your two best friends in this sort of situation. These are some of the common problems that educational supervisors often encounter with their trainees. I'll just give you a moment to read through them. If you're on YouTube, you may need to hit the pause button. When you come across undesired behaviour, the first thing you should do is to define its nature. In other words, work out what it is that you wish to see and how the undesired behaviour is at variance with that. It's then important to identify what obstacles are in the trainee's life that are stopping them from engaging in the desired behaviour. So try and identify what's going on for them, and remember that might be in their professional or personal lives. Tell them that you truly want to help them, but that you can't do that without them being totally open and honest with you. Ask them to put their cards on the table and reassure them that you really want to understand things and not have a go at them, but that you do need their help in order to be able to do this. Can you see that in order to do all of this, how incredibly important it is to spend the right time creating the right educational climate and the right relationship with your trainee right from the start? If you feel you've never achieved that from the outset, then this might be the perfect opportunity to say, let's start again. Most undesirable behaviour is fixable, and the cause behind most of them is usually nowhere near on the scale of some of the things on this slide. I've just put this slide in to remind you that some of these things do happen and to bear them in mind. I've talked about this in a previous training session, and I'll say it again because it is an important point. The educational supervisor is not the learner's personal counsellor or GP. I know I've talked about being person-centred and all of that, but remember, you're there to help them, not necessarily problem solve for them. So, if a trainee, for example, is displaying signs and symptoms of depression, I do not throw off my educational supervisor's hat for the doctor's hat. Instead, I refer them to their own GP and request occupational health to get involved. Remember, you do not step into territory that you have no right to be in. This person is your trainee, not your patient. You can potentially make things 10 times worse if you take on such a dual role. Remember, there are two people involved in educational supervision, you and the trainee. So far, we've been focusing on the trainee as being the focus of the problem. Actually, it might be you. Remember to examine yourself. Do you, for example, need to brush up on your facilitation skills, your communication skills, feedback skills, or other person-centered skills? But maybe the trainee is difficult. Perhaps you do have a trainee who has difficulty and who needs certain things to be put into place to help their training to go more smoothly and successfully. But the key message I want to get across in this training session is that it is difficult to help the trainee unless there is a common shared understanding about the importance and need for integrity, honesty, openness and trust. Oh, and please remember to talk to your training program directors early if you have a trainee that you have concerns about. Finally, I'm going to leave you with this slide, which summarises a general approach when dealing with a trainee with whom you are experiencing difficulty. Some of these things we've talked about before in an earlier slide, but have added a few more things just to make it a bit more comprehensive and more rounded. We've talked about not reacting too hastily, and we've also talked about who's got the problem, whether it's you or them. In addition, we've talked about defining the nature of the problem, i.e. defining exactly what the problem behaviour is and the behaviour that we desire to see instead. Once you've done all of this, before you start to talk to your trainee, you need to determine whether they're in a fit enough state to discuss things further. For example, if they're going through a divorce, perhaps now is not a good time. And when it is time, remember, everyone needs to be open and honest. You need to explain to the trainee that all you're trying to do is to step into their shoes and see and understand how things are for them. Reassure them that it's not about telling them off. Together, discuss how you might get back on track, and in this regard, always try and encourage them to problem solve first. Your role is really to facilitate that. They know their problem better than you do, and therefore they have a better understanding of whether a suggestion is going to work or not. Only then start to set agreed objectives. Throughout the process, give them the support they need and show them that they're not in it alone. You will be there with them. It's also best to discuss things with those colleagues who need to know fairly early, like the training program directors. But remember, make the trainee aware of this and seek their approval. They'll often have perceived concerns about this, which may need resetting. For example, you might need to highlight that you're talking to your program director colleagues, not to put a black mark against them, but instead to explore any other ways in which you can make things better. Finally, document all difficulties and plans so that you have something to refer back to should either of you need to. In exceptional cases, where things have got really out of hand, these notes will prove invaluable to third-party organisations. But hopefully it won't come to that.